Chennai is the birthplace of Royal Enfield in India. This is where they were in the 50s. This is where the revival happened. We as architects often don't engage with enough is that if the building is the answer, what's the question? What sets this brand apart is that people who come into work here really believe in the brand. They believe they're part of some kind of a cultural icon. Hi, I'm Ambrish Arora. I am a founding principal of Studio Lotus. I have the privilege of walking you through the campus that we designed for Royal Enfield, the global headquarters and technology center in Chennai. So for a detailed case study of the project, please visit Billify as I walk you through the details and the process of evolution of the project. Now for a building of this scale, it's about 4 lakh square feet. And the objective was to build it out in 18 to 20 months. We had never even remotely kind of done something of this scale and complexity. And the program was really complex. That's an L-shaped kind of site on the old Mahabalipuram road. That side is where the ECR is. What we intended to do was to begin with is leave a significant buffer which was anyway required and some buffer from the noisy main road, which we did in the form of creating a green kind of forecourt. We worked with Sujata Kohli, IPDM, who was the landscape architect, which is also where you see the 2 ramps, one that goes into the extensive basement and one that exits out. So the building footprint kind of starts here, which is what we call a low-rise experience center, which has an extended kind of semi-covered porch there. Thereafter, there are 2 kinds of movement. There is this kind of covered walkway that takes people through. What we did thereafter was we broke the administrative blocks into 3 zones, which stack up over 4 floors of roughly about 50 to 60 people each, and these get stacked around these courtyards that are used for, again, small town halls, impromptu meetings. There are benches all around, so oftentimes senior executives call maybe a group of people outside to have a meeting. What this allows for is morphology that lets daylight into the blocks from all 3 sides, so the working area are really nicely lit. Courtyards that these administration block buildings look into have a floating super roof which houses all the solar panel, which also creates a further shading. Each courtyard also has dynamic water bodies, so they have recirculating water. These obviously act as they create a microclimate around the courtyard and for these semi-covered areas. One of the intentions was to minimize the use of elevators because it's a ground plus 3 building. They're very large, generous staircases that have been created which punctuate the campus at critical points. So what is nice about these particular staircases especially is that the staircases themselves are social hubs. We end up getting these porous, naturally ventilated kind of corridors and breakout spaces. And this elevation then becomes an important kind of elevation for the building. What's happening along these edges is a system of terracotta louvers and openable facades. Now what we've done here is use the depth of the columns to work with 2 pre-stretched 6mm stainless steel cables which hold terracotta tiles at roughly a 30-degree angle. There are rainwater kind of collection trays that take the water down all the way to the ground into rainwater harvesting channels. all that is supporting this entire facade are these grid of 6mm high tensile steel post-tensioned cables, which have two components which are screwed on with small grub screws, which is what clamps this rod and this rod to hold the tile in place both at the upper level and at the lower level. There is filtered light that's coming through. It prevents lashing rain from coming in, and also in the upper floors you will see that we've created the louvers which continue to protect the corridors and opened up lines of sight at eye level and created a planter that screens that elevation. Across the courtyards is where we needed to have a more sealable facade. There is this ratchet that kind of locks it in place. It does so at whichever angle you want to lock it. So in the event of high winds, it still kind of stays in place. So on the ground floor, this entire zone is the testing facilities. Now this has multiple kind of requirements. All of these open towards the back because motorcycles kind of get wheeled in. There is some motorcycle testing that happens on this track. One more feature that actually the entire campus has is that you can take a motorcycle across the entire floor plate of the building, and I think that was one of the asks that people working with motorcycles on motorcycles should be able to access them wherever they are. This entire courtyard is used for gatherings. This bridge is where people can sit. It's also a great way to terminate kind of the visual access for when you enter the building. This leads us to on the ground floor a cafeteria, ground and first floor cafeteria block. This part of this the courtyard here is a spill out for the cafeteria. What we have here on this part of the building is a giant atrium, which is in section kind of an important feature because on the upper two floors, these are where engineers and product development teams sit. So that's the product kind of development block, which shows the north light, and there you're seeing giving a cut section through the atrium, which allows both daylight and visual connection across the campus. On the second floor, there is a double height which becomes a large kind of theatrical multi-purpose space, which in section has a skylight on the periphery which brings diffuse daylight into the space. So it has a retractable gantry with stage lights, AV systems. It has acoustic paneling on two sides of the blocks. The material palette that you see is 2 or 3 layers. The entire structural system of the building is a bolted steel structural system. It was detailed out to possible service route that we could have imagined. That was a remarkable task that was achieved because of the partnership we had with Vinay Mahajan of S N Pingle. Studio Lotus were the design architects, S N Pingle were the execution architects. Wherever these materials are that are expressed in the raw form, all the metal is painted a charcoal grey. That's the Royal Enfield brand colour. Like the slabs, the red oxide floors you see outside or through the building, even the concrete floors you see through the building, are largely the structural slabs, where at the time of pouring of the concrete, the red oxide was mixed into it and then vacuum dewatered and polished. And so the sofas are from a line of furniture we developed for the retail program. There is acacia wood, kikar wood. So all the furniture was custom designed. This project would not be even a fraction of what it is if it weren't for the Royal Enfield in-house engineering team, who pretty much handheld the project from inception to delivery. It has a cultural vision, it has a systemic vision, it has a programmatic vision, it has an organizational vision. The architectural outcome is a manifestation of these multiple dimensions.